sitting on the flight deck of the Birch Bitch. We've been corrected on the name. This is the Spruce Goose, Howard Hughes flying boat. But this is up in the Evergreen Flight Museum somewhere southwest of, McSomethingville?
McMinnville, yeah.
McMinnville, I don't know. McMinnville, Oregon. And, yeah, there's,
we're looking at the engine throttles right now, 8 of them.
Yeah. What do you think the difference between the E and the H's?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, there's so many dials, valves, buttons, and things in here. It's kind of ridiculous, actually, in a good way. But
it's really cool. We're overlooking a MiG-29 and F-14.
Both of which would have destroyed this thing in a heartbeat. I still can't believe this thing got off the ground. I mean, we talk about big planes a lot and seeing airplanes and stuff like that, but it is amazing how big this is compared to every other airplane I've ever seen.
I mean, it's
which, obviously, it's the biggest, so that makes sense, but even it barely fits in the building. There's nowhere to stand that you can get a photo of the whole thing. It's incredible.
Yeah.
The number of people it would take to operate it also is...
And all the piping, I mean, we got tons of piping and, hydraulic lines that are running all the way to the back. It's crazy.
Yeah. What's interesting, and because it's a wood plane, obviously the hydraulics are metal pipes and stuff and metal cables, but all of the support structures and stuff for that are all... Stephen, please don't throttle the engines. The support structure for all of that is actually done through wooden, support structures.
It's all, I mean, there's a few, they showed us a few metal things, but I mean, for the most part, the entire plane is laminated.
Yeah.
Hello and welcome to episode 92 of Dots, Lines, and Destinations. I'm Stephen Seagraves, today joined by Seth Miller.
Hello.
And we are at the Evergreen Museum. It's kind of a special episode. We're looking at the Spruce Goose behind us.
Excuse me, Stephen. We've been corrected by the docents here. It is the Birch Bitch.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. It's the flying boat. Howard
Hughes felt the term Spruce Goose was derogatory.
Because it didn't have any spruce in it.
Mostly because it doesn't have any spruce in it. But we've decided that we've been informed that the Birch Bitch is in fact the correct nickname for it.
We also have a special guest today, Luke Fritz.
Hello, everybody.
Luke is a Global Cities teacher. He and Seth know each other from All You Can Jet.
That's right, going
the
all the way
days
back.
From JetBlue Fun.
Yeah.
That's right. So both All You Can Jets, and then I hopped on Blue Pass, and Seth reluctantly had to stay home on that one. But,
it was Boston-based. It was much harder to justify. Which, here's the thing, it was Boston-based, which made it harder, but you live in Portland and managed to make it work.
You know, I commuted on the weekends for it. I would fly off on Thursday night when I was teaching, take the Friday off or something. Yeah, anyway, so Seth and I go back, and then obviously I just met Steven today as Apex convention is in town in Portland. So
a bunch of aviation nerds in town this time.
I believe we prefer the term geeks.
Geeks, nerds, dorks.
And what did we think a great place to go was for the day? That's right, the Aviation Museum in Minville.
We gotta keep our cred.
That's right.
A little bit.
That's right.
Also, it's kind of awesome. It's not like we sacrificed as much to be here.
No, some gasoline.
It's a little bit of traffic.
That's right.
We'll work through that.
You're also a fellow Portlander, worked at PDX.
That's right. So actually, it's interesting that we're here at the Evergreen Aviation Museum because I worked for Evergreen as a contractor for 3 or 4 years. It was my summer job during college, and I was contracted with UPS and Lufthansa as they were at Portland. The Frankfurt flight obviously has gone away at this point, but I did do topside pushing cargo around UPS 767s and A330-300s for a very long time. And so this is basically what all my work helped pay for was this big, gigantic, cool museum. So a background in that.
Cool. Very cool. And you're a traveler, photographer.
Yes.
Kind of, you love travel. So
absolutely. And I'm with you guys, right? It's about the destination, but also about the journey to getting there. So the dots, the lines, absolutely. I try to build up my flight memory map as fast and as many different places as possible.
Yeah, Stephen wasn't around for this, but at brunch this morning, it was me, Luke, and his girlfriend, and he's like, oh yeah, we got next summer's trip planned out. I'm like, oh really, that's interesting. And he proceeded to rattle off 12 airport codes in a row without saying the names of any of the cities.
Yeah.
And with each successive one, his girlfriend started rolling her eyes a little bit more.
Yeah. So anyway, absolutely love it.
As she should have, to be fair. But
That's right.
It sounds like a great trip, quite frankly.
Yeah,
so where are you? Tell us a little bit about that.
So my girlfriend's French, and And so we're going to try to make going to France over the summer as a priority. She's a teacher as well, so spending about a month there in Normandy. She has an apartment. And then, there's the European Soccer Championships there, and I love the Olympics. I'm a big sports fan, too, so I'm going to head to South America. These are all on Avios bookings, by the way, so making good use of the Chase Sapphire preferred points.
We'll find an affiliate link to throw in the show notes.
That's right, sure. So we're going from Paris to Lima, Peru for Machu Picchu, then down to Buenos Aires, which my girlfriend was enticed by being the Paris of South America, quote unquote, and then to Rio, and then home via Chicago to see my brother. So yeah, we were just talking about that this morning, and it's nice to have Seth in town because I don't get to see him too often being on the East Coast, and so it's great that the convention says to be.
That's funny. We could have had Rolo on the show and had his Buenos Aires take. Right?
Yeah.
Maybe
we have a resident Argentine.
Okay.
Our producer, who
Sure.
seems to blow us off more than that. But we'll figure that out.
I think today we're just going to have kind of a general travel show. I don't think there's any specific topics we want to talk about right now. I know that with Apex going on the next few days, we'll probably have some topics.
Do my best to try to get a special episode like we usually do out of the conference. But
I think I just have some general questions. I mean, you being a traveler, a points guy, do you have a particular program, or you? I mean,
so I started with Alaska, and this was like probably 10 years ago when I was super excited about signing up for the mileage plan card, and then kind of diversified since then. I definitely try to put most of it on Chase. So you can
put them wherever you want.
That's right, and that's very helpful. So I think this next summer, like I said, is paid for almost entirely by points, and I definitely love and appreciate that. But I also understand the importance of diversifying my points balances. So I do that too.
Do you have a favorite destination that you've been to so far?
So I'm half British, and I did a study abroad in London, and I feel like pretty much at home there outside of Portland. That combined with the Olympics in 2012, which I went to. I feel London is one of my favorites just because of the history and also my family and everything that goes along with that. A variety of places. New Zealand, I would think, would be another one that is way up there for me. Just natural beauty. I love scenic landscape photography, and New Zealand is pretty hard to beat in that regard. And so that was another kind of fun redemption where Seth helped me out. It was actually where it was like 40,000, the Chase Sapphire bonus point. I was able to do layovers for 23 and a half hours in Tokyo, Beijing, and Seoul, South Korea on the way to Sydney. So those were all free. Try to work it out that way. It's all about the strategy and also.
We've done a lot of weird long layovers for you, I feel like.
That's right.
In retrospect, I was remembering the Lufthansa
Washington
one.
Yeah.
That was, you mentioned your sports affinity.
That's
you
right.
travel a lot for sports, and
there's a women's soccer game. So the Portland Thorns are a team obviously based here, and they were quite good. They have won a national championship at one point. So, try to get around to support them, and if it happens that it coincides.
With a mistake fare on Lufthansa?
That's right. Well, I think it was
a good sale. I don't remember.
It was the business class deal where it was like 1,400 round trip.
Okay.
It's worth it.
Yeah, it's about the same price as economy. So,
yeah.
Anyways, I would say London for my family, and then New Zealand for really just the scenic beauty are two of my favorites.
So have you been to Iceland?
I have been to Iceland.
Okay. Are you excited about the new flight or the flight that's already there?
I actually took that flight earlier this summer.
Oh yeah.
I've already been on it, so next summer I'll be doing as well. I definitely appreciate the options now because Icelandair makes it a lot more cheap to be able to fly.
We were having that discussion last night about how Icelandair coming in kind of lowers the cost of both business class, premium economy, and regular economy all the way to Europe.
Yeah.
And the 7-day stopover thing is kind of unbeatable.
Fantastic.
I did the stopover back in June coming home from Paris.
Mm-hmm.
I stopped for a day and really should have done more, but I only really had a day and got like 26 hours on the ground. But I bought the premium economy they call Comfort Plus.
Yep.
Were you upgraded to Saga as a part of that?
So in and out of continental Europe,
yeah.
It seems that it's very common that the Comfort Plus upgrades to the Saga seats.
Yep.
In and out of North America, that's much less common, it would seem. I certainly didn't get it. I don't think anyone got it. But on my flight, so their version of Comfort Plus is an extra inch of pitch and a blocked middle seat, plus free meals and a little amenity
lounge access.
And you get lounge access in Catholic, which is actually a really nice lounge.
Yeah.
Although I was running late because my bus broke down, so I didn't have time to enjoy it. But one of the interesting things is it was very reasonably priced for what I was buying to upgrade to that. And then my flight, there was no one in the aisle seat of my window, so I actually got all three seats together.
Can you put the tray table up that's in the middle seat and lay down?
Yeah, I don't think it was a fixed, locked tray table kind of thing. I think it was just no one gets assigned that seat.
Oh, that's cool.
So, yeah, it was really nice. I actually really enjoyed that product, and especially at the price point. Part of it is I was buying a relatively last-minute ticket, but I think I paid $650 one way.
Yeah, sure.
In economy plus,
That's not bad.
or economy comfort, whatnot. So I
you
thought
think,
that
you
was
think about that, like, round trip, $1,300 for an economy plus product with a blocked middle, like that, you're teetering on. That's well worth.
And I did this as a very last minute purchase in peak summer season, so
definitely a deal.
Maybe they come down in the winter, maybe they don't, but like that was definitely a bargain. It was $50 more than buying the regular seat. So
yeah. I have a fun Icelandair story because in buying the tickets for the Olympics in London in 2012, Icelandair was actually the seller of Iceland's tickets, and because I'm a British citizen through my mom, I'm able to buy tickets from any European country for the Olympics. That's one of the EU rules. And so I bought basketball gold medal final tickets through Icelandair. And then about 6 months later, they came back to me and said, no, actually, we don't have these tickets. And I said, that's a really bad thing for me because I booked all sorts of accommodations. We're already coming over for it. Already knowing that in the back of my mind, I could probably sort it out. And I got back to them and said, is there anything you can do to compensate me for this? And they're like, oh yeah, sure, we could absolutely. You don't want any tickets? Yeah, here's 800 British pounds worth of free travel vouchers for your trouble. So I was able to book a round trip flight to Europe in a Saga or economy comfort class because of that. So yeah, good memories with Icelandair, and I'm thankful that they're in Portland, and also Condor and Delta to Europe as well. So yeah.
So are you? What's your least favorite destination? It's kind of that's the hard question.
A least favorite destination?
Somewhere that you don't know if you go back to.
Yeah, somewhere. Okay.
And you don't have to give the reason why.
No.
Although it'd be more fun if you did.
No. I didn't like Aruba when I was there. It seemed like it was, I don't know, it was just...
Desolate?
It was desolate. It was one of those, like, pretty rainy places because it was tropical. I like walking places. I don't want to, like, rent a car, if at all possible. And it was pretty hard to walk pretty much anywhere in Aruba outside, like, the main city. I tried walking to the airport to, like, get back home, and eventually I had to, like, flag someone down and be like, yeah, I can't do this anymore because this is, like, quite a hike.
Nice.
Yeah, I don't know if... Yeah, I try to be pretty positive about, almost any place I go to because I want to be able to take something out of that experience.
Yep.
So even if it's bad, this last year I was in Nepal. That was maybe one place where it was hard because it wasn't after the earthquake, it was right before, but I flew in expressly to go see Mount Everest, but it turned out it was just too foggy that morning, it was canceled, and
it was just a bad experience.
It was just a bad experience with the whole thing. So, hopefully that just sets it up so one day I'll go back and it'll be better. So
you were there in Nepal, and we have another friend, a mutual friend, that was in Nepal at the exact same time.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Like, that's kind of crazy.
He was there during the John was there during the earthquake.
Yeah,
so,
amazing. Yeah.
And had to deal with
pretty
that,
incredible.
but-
Yeah. Well, they're opening up the hangar.
Yeah.
Maybe they're bringing in a new jet, I don't know.
Sure.
There's actually something taxiing in. A tiny little... Oh, no, it's the... damn it. The golf carts that they used to take people around
the
between the
space
different buildings of the
shuttle
museum
carts,
had a little space shuttle
Yeah.
pseudo-livery, and I saw the shaped nose on it and thought they might actually be doing something special.
Yeah.
But
So do you have a fun travel story that you could share?
Sure.
You mentioned the Dominican.
Yeah, absolutely. So I had a friend, Ryan, in the Dominican Republic that I visited. He and I go way back to high school, and so I just came out for a couple of days. Actually, it was about a week or so on one of the first all-you-can-jet passes, I think, or it might have been Blue Pass. And so the story is this. Basically, we're visiting his girlfriend who lives in a pretty rundown area of Santiago, Dominican Republic. And so we're out to dinner and everything. It's great. And I didn't bring any of my stuff because Ryan assured me that we're going back to, the place where he was staying, which is much, nicer at this point. And so I didn't bring any of my stuff. And then it gets too late. And he says, like, Luke, this is too dangerous. We can't be out anymore. We're going to stay here with my girlfriend. And this is, like, not to be, like, uncharitable or anything, but this is, like, a tin shack with, like, maybe, like, some one piece of brick wall dividing the rooms. And I'm like, okay, cool. Yeah, I'm into this. This is fine. This is one of those experiences. I'm kind of, like, sleeping on, like, thatch on a patch. And so Ryan helps me take my contacts out, so I'm like blind. I basically can't see at this point. And he says, her brother is going to be sleeping on the same mattress as you, but he's already asleep, so just try not to disturb him. I'm like, okay, great. So I'm already going in. I'm like laying on one side of the bed. And then he says, you really need to make sure to put like a blanket over yourself because there's ants here and they'll bite. And you want to make really sure, be careful that there's not going to be any ants on you. So put the blanket over you. So I'm like kind of laying on the side. I'm kind of shivering, trying to make sure the blanket's on me. I can't see. The ants are like possibly, I don't know, fire ants breathing all over me. And then all of a sudden, during the middle of the night, I start hearing these bang, like really loud on the tin roof, like bang, bang. And I'm like, what is this? And he goes, oh no, those are just the avocados dropping from above. That'll happen periodically throughout the night, so you can kind of just expect that to be happening. And I just remember like laying there in my bed as I'm blind, can't see him, trying not to touch this brother who I've never met before, getting away from the ants and hearing these avocados pound on the tin roof, and just thinking, you know what, this is so removed from my like usual experience at my house at home. I was like, this is kind of great. Like, this is not something I'm going to get to experience very often. So that's kind of like a fun travel story. Yeah.
That is interesting.
I'm sure all of us have something where we've kind of been put out of our element, and it's been like, yeah.
The big thud of waking you up in the middle of the night reminds me of 7 years or 8 years ago now. I was in Luxembourg, staying in a hostel. It was in early January, as I was making my way through the continent on my way actually to go drinking with a bunch of guys in Belgium. And this like 350-pound Finnish dude checked into the hostel and was sleeping on one of the top bunks. So he got back to the room super late.
Oh no.
And was super drunk and went to bed. And like an hour and a half later, I heard this thud, and he had rolled out of the top bunk and just went splat.
Oh!
And shook it off, got up, walked out into the hallway, went to the bathroom, came back, and like, you know, he did one of those, shook his head off, and then climbed back into bed. But
oh my gosh.
Yeah, that was a particularly entertaining loud thud awakening moment that, you know, definitely caught me off guard.
Steven, do you have any stories like that?
I think about like being taken out of my element. I'm not sure. Yeah. I mean, I know I have the hitchhiking story, which I've told on the podcast before.
Yeah.
Which that was way out of my element when I got into like a car with my wife. We'd only been married.
The one in Germany?
Yeah, we'd only been married like a year and a half, and it's guys listening to death metal, and the car is full except for this one seat where my wife and I squeeze in and hold our luggage on our laps and ride for an hour and a half with these guys. Really nice guys. Just thought we were going to be murdered, though.
Yeah, you know. Honestly, it's a lot of work to clean up the blood. They probably aren't going to kill you.
Exactly. I mean, that was one, but I think like some of my time in northern South America has been times when I felt completely out of my element. Where I know in Ecuador, going out remote, just outside of town, all of a sudden I'm at the mercy of whoever's driving the car.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you know what? If something happens,
Yep.
there's no cell service.
Right.
There's probably not going to be another person for another hour out here because we're alone.
Yeah.
I better hope and pray that I have my water bottle filled and all that stuff taken care of. And it's a very kind of a weird feeling.
Well, that's why you put your faith in humanity, right? That's one of those things that's great about traveling, is you can kind of like, okay, I'm in the hands of a stranger or someone I'm going to trust for the day or whatever, and you know, these things are going to be okay.
I don't know if I've told this story on the podcast or not, but I got in Cuba, I flew out to Cayo Coco, one of the random beaches. I told the story of how much I hated that hotel, but coming back, I got on the plane, and it's a little ATR-42, and it was half full or whatever. This guy who spoke some English sits down next to me. He was a Cuban who lived a little south of Havana, and reasonably certain he was a smuggler of some sort of contraband. He flew out to meet his lady friend from Canada and was flying back with 2 70-pound suitcases.
Okay.
But and I was freaking out because they tagged my bag to the wrong airport code in Havana. And I literally was like yelling at the woman, this isn't right. She's like, no, the computer just doesn't know the difference. I'm like, but I do. This is a problem. She's like, and he's like, no, don't worry. The plane will land at the right airport. I'm like, but he's like, nah, it'll be fine. Really, she's right. The computers here are just stupid. I'm like, okay. I went with it, but that's not putting my faith in humanity so much as we get on the plane. He sits down next to me because it's Southwest style open seating. Or we had seat assignments and no one cared. It's unclear.
Yeah.
The boarding passes had seat assignments, but no one cared. But we started talking. He starts talking to me. He's like, yeah. And so, like, halfway through the second flight, he says, so do you have a ride back into the airport or back into town? I said, no, I'm just going to get a taxi when I get there. He's like, no. My friend is coming to pick me up. He's got a car. We'll drive you in. You pay him the same rate as that you would pay the taxi anyway, and then we can keep talking and have fun. And I said yes. And I got in I got in a random car with the guy who was clearly a smuggler of some sort, who picked me up on the airplane and was like, no, let's go hang out. And, like, we drove off onto the side roads and, like, off the main highway and talking about no cell phone service.
Did you ever feel uncomfortable?
Many times. Basically the entirety of the trip. And at one point, like, he had to go. He's like, oh, do you mind if I run to the bank? I'm like, sure. And so we pull off on the road. He's like, yeah, come on, let's go walk around a little bit. I'm like, but all my life is in that car. I can't leave this car out of my sight. He's like, no, the driver will stay with him. I'm like, that's kind of the problem. Like, this is when I go out with you, he drives away, and then you turn and run away, and I'm left standing on the street in Cuba with nothing. And I, at this point, had made sure I had my passport in my pocket instead of my bag, which is where I had been carrying it, and some things like that. But I was like, no, it's going to be fine. It's going to be fine. It has to be fine because that's the way humanity is, and it's going to be fine.
And this guy was just really proud of his country and wanted to show you a good time.
Absolutely. And he was talking with his buddy about these different things, and like at one point I hear muerte, and I'm like, okay, great, they're going to kill me.
Death. I know that one.
I know death. Yeah. I don't speak much Spanish, but I've got that one. I don't think that was actually part of my Sesame Street Spanish learning, but maybe. And no, they were talking about apparently someone had put diesel in all the unleaded fuel tanks at all the gas stations. and it was killing all the cars, and cars were dying on the sides of the road. And so I picked up enough of the words. It's my very broken, living in New York City for 15 years version of Spanish.
Spanglish.
Yeah. Not even. And it was interesting. But yeah, that was talking about putting myself in a very uncomfortable position, and it turned out to be a great 2-hour ride from the airport back into town, which should have been 30 minutes. But we stopped off and I got some local currency.
Yeah,
they're in a dual currency system. I got churros from a local guy, selling them. And he's like, "You really want to deal with this?" I'm like, "Yeah, we have to get local foods now and all these things."
Yeah.
But it was interesting.
Fun.
So,
well, Luke, I thank you for
thanks,
being on the
guys.
show. I mean,
Absolutely.
I think we're gonna have to have you on again.
Sure.
Maybe you can call in remotely.
Yeah,
You know.
Skype in.
Absolutely.
Or if you're in Portland, we can meet
Absolutely.
up.
yeah, this is a slightly abbreviated show, I'm afraid.
Yeah, but I think it's fun to always have a guest and do it here.
I'm apologizing to our listeners that they don't get another half hour of us like they normally do.
Yeah.
Or,
maybe they're relieved.
But yeah, we've got, unfortunately, traffic to fight and dinners to get to. But
Luke, is there somewhere online that folks can find you if you want
sure.
if you want to give a domain or something?
Yeah, well, you can just find me on Twitter at LukeFritz64, LukeFritz64. And then I'm on Instagram at Luke Fritz. I try to travel a lot, post photos up on there frequently. So, yeah, those are two easy places to find me.
Very cool.
Yep.
Awesome. And I am Seth Miller, also known as the Wandering Airman, at WANDRME on Instagram and Twitter, and WANDR.me on the rest of the World Wide Web.
And I'm Stephen Seagraves. You can find me on Twitter at SSeagraves. You can follow at Dots Lines on Twitter for the show. MoreDotsMoreLines.com is the show address, I guess. And man, I'm kind of bungling this.
Yeah,
today.
you didn't write your notes down.
I didn't write my notes down. But yeah, leave a comment. Luke, thanks again for joining us.
Thanks, guys. Really appreciate it.
It's been great.
Yep.
Awesome. Take care.